Hello, everybody. My name is Pastor Sunday Adelaja from Kyiv, Ukraine. I'm a covenant brother to Dr. Myles Munroe. And I've been hearing so many comments after his homegoing. And so many people, both sincere Christians and cynic believers and unbelievers, are asking the same question. Why should Dr. Myles die such a tragic death? And why should a man that has given his life to serve the Lord all his life die in such a way? Why should Christians who serve God, who are not living an ungodly lifestyle, why should they live? Why should they lose their lives in such a tragic way, like through plane crash? Well, if these questions were only coming from cynics and mockers, I would not have bothered to respond. But because even members of my church and so many other sincere Christians are asking the same questions, I think it is my responsibility to give some kind of explanation and answer to this. Why? Because I'm a covenant brother to Dr. Myles. We're covenant brothers. And as a covenant brother, the conditions of covenant compels me to respond. Condition of covenant compels me to respond. The terms of covenant compels me to give an answer where a brother can no more speak for himself. So, many Christians think that I'm sincere believer. One person said, Jacob, when he was about to die, died by gathering members of his family and prophesying to them, praying for them before going. So why should such a man, such a great man of God, such a man of such a stature, go in such a tragic, sudden way? First of all, I would like to point out that the way you die really doesn't matter when you come out of when you come out of this physical world. It is to us that we think that it is something big how you die. Number one, we're talking about Jacob. Jacob didn't die a tragic death, and Jacob, gathered his family members and prophesied to them, prayed for them. You know what? Dr. Myles, I've been doing that for the past 30 years. He's been prophesying, praying for his spiritual children, for his physical kids, and he didn't need to do that one particular day. He kept on doing that all the time. He probably did that the last Sunday before the tragic incidents. He kept on doing that all the time. That was his whole lifestyle. He was doing that all the time. Now, why should that be so tragic? Well, number one, because as soon as your spirit leaves your body, and I'm going to say some of the things right now that might not be very popular, but as soon as your spirit leaves your body, you are still as whole as you used to be when you were in the flesh. But this time, you are much younger, you are much, I think, attractive, you are much perfect. You are in the perfect body, in the glorified body. And no matter how good looking you look here on the earth, no matter how whole you think you are when you are in the body, that is so much, going to look so much ugly. As ugly as the crash body after a plane crash. I've listened to stories of after death, and I remember one particular story of a lady that died in the hospital. She was lying in bed. She was a young lady and who was quite fashionable and beautiful. But when she left her body, she came out of that body, standing up on top of the roof. She was looking at the doctors and her family members gathered around, clovering around a body. And she was saying, what is happening here? But I'm here, and she was trying to touch them. And then she looked at the body down there and said, who is that? And she was thinking, I thought that was my body, but I couldn't look so bad. I couldn't look so ugly. I mean, she was looking so ugly, and I mean, so terrible. And she said, wow, was I so terrible? Because when we're still in the flesh, we think we're something. But when you compare that to the beauty of heaven, no matter how good looking your body or how complete your flesh is, it doesn't really matter. What matters when you die is really, what really matters is to get that spirit out of that body. And when you get that spirit out of that body, that is when it's like you are letting fly a bird after being caged for like 60 years, like in the case of Dr. Myles. So it's like when you are in the body, you are being caged, you have been limited a lot. But when you are let loose, that is when you really breathe in to the full breast. That is when you feel the freedom and the fullness of life. So what I'm trying to say is that the assignment of death is to liberate, especially for the believer, is to set the spirit man free from the captivity of the body. And so it doesn't matter how that incident happens. It doesn't matter if you lie down in your bed and your spirit just comes out peacefully from your body, or it was in an accident. The assignment is to get that spirit out of your body. And once that is done, it doesn't really matter what happens to that body, or if that body was crushed or it was whole, because guess what? That body will still go to the grave anyway. And what happens to it in the grave? Turns to ashes. So will it not be better for it to turn into ashes immediately or to rot and, get decayed over the years and gradually turn to ashes? Doesn't really matter to God, and it doesn't matter to the person involved. So we shouldn't be making too much noise out of nothing. And if we are Christians, let's just face it. God knows better. Let's just know that sometimes our religious upbringing and our religious understanding is where the problem is. But God doesn't have any problem in the real sense. And the way you die, God didn't promise anybody you are going to die, around your family peacefully. That's a stereotype. I don't think there is a scripture that is violated in this case, and I don't agree with the assumption that it is because, maybe Dr. Myles might have done something wrong or teaching some doctrines. I don't agree with that. I think the man has lived a full life, he has done a good job, and he has gone to receive his reward. Now, some people are also saying that, okay, if you claim that Dr. Myles had lived a full life, what do you say about a youth pastor? What do you say about his son, who is just 4 years old? What do you say about the other people who are in their car, in that plane? Will you say they have lived a full life too? Well, we will talk about that as well. Why should God allow the life of some of these people to be cut short? I have an answer and some form of explanation for that as well. I will not say I have the full understanding into the mind of God, but I think some of these my answers will be able to bring some peace and solace to people who are sincerely seeking to understand why should God allow these kind of things to happen to Christians. And what I'm saying and what I'm trying to say in this answer, tragic death is going to come anyway. Look at David Wilkerson. It was not a plane crash, but it was still a tragic death. It was an accident, car accident. Why do those kind of things happen? Well, As I think, they need to get home. They need to be set free from that body one way or the other. And once they're out of that body, it doesn't really matter what happens to that body. Because that body is like a limitation. It's like being in prison all your life. And then you are now querying whoever set you free from that prison, why should he use that way or the other to open the door for you? Maybe the way he opened it, he broke the door, or he just opened it, or he cracked the door open. For the person who is dead, he just wants to get out of that prison. And I tell you what, heaven is our home, and heaven is our liberty, heaven is our freedom, heaven is our victory. And it doesn't matter how we leave this earth. We are going home. That is what matters. If you are trying to say, this is not, we cannot understand this, this is not in contrary to what we believe, then what will you say about the early Christians? What will you say about Paul? Paul died a violent death. Peter died a violent death. Jacob died a violent death. All the disciples of Jesus, out of 12 of them, only one of them died a natural cause, by natural cause. All the others died a tragic and violent death. You want to tell me all these apostles of the Lord Jesus Christ were not holy enough, or they were not close to God enough? What about early Christians? The early Christians, some of them were thrown into lions then. Some of them were actually thrown into drums of oil. I mean, they were roasted alive. Yeah, so these are some of the most righteous people of their generations. Some of them were lit alive. Some of the old saints. It doesn't matter how you live this world. Be ready to live at any time. That's what matters. Dr. Myles, I'm proud of you. We Christians are proud of you, what you've done, what you've accomplished, and that is what matters. What have you done while you're in this world? Doesn't matter how you live it, but what footprint will you leave? That's the question we should be asking ourselves. What footprint will you leave? Dr. Myles left a wonderful, large, larger than life footprint. And it's going to live forever in his books, in his tips, in his concepts. And, you know, like he says all the time, that, you know, the richest place in the world is the graveyard, is the cemetery, and the greatest thing is not tragedy. It is a life without purpose. So those things he says, really, you know, they can testify and they speak louder than anything for him. So I will hope that at least some of you got some answers from this. I have a lot of questions that are coming in, and I'm going to give answers to them in other series and in other video recordings, because you know, I couldn't do it just one long stretch. It's going to be too long. So I'm going to break these answers down in different videos. But I'm going to answer the question, why should it die young? And why should other people die young? I'm going to answer that, and I'm going to answer some other questions as well. God bless you.